What's up, gamers? Very exciting announcements today. Blizzard has just announced they're going to be buffing multiple cards from each class from the BOOMSDAY project, as well as adding a brand new card that will rotate out with the BOOMSDAY project set. So today I'm going to be going over all of those, giving my opinion. And my opinion in general, by the way, is fantastic. Thank you, Blizzard. So let's check it out. First we got Snip Snap. 3 mana, 2/3 Magnetic Echo, Death Rattle, summon 2 1/1 Microbots. So it's similar to Replicating Menace, 4 mana, 3/1. Death Rattle, summon 3 Microbots. 3 mana, 2/3 Death Rattle, summon 2 1/1s is just strong by itself. Then it also has Magnetic, and it also has Echo. It kind of has some diminishing returns if you play multiple of it because you're going to be filling your board with just a bunch of 1/1s. It's kind of not the best. Also, it probably will not be in Mech Pally if it's running Kangor's Endless Army, because summoning that many 1/1s will make your pool a lot worse. You're very likely to summon a 1/1 if you play Kangors after playing multiple copies of this card. Mech Hunter almost certainly will run this card. It's just powerful, even if you just play it on turn 3 without any other mech. You can almost always curve like Swirly Glider into this guy. Make a 3 mana 2/5. Death Rattle, summon 2 1/1s, and do 2 damage to the enemy hero. Just seems good. There's also a Warrior, and this card is not good in Warrior. That's important to know. If you see this as a control warrior when you're doing Omega Assembly or Delivery Drone, you will not be as happy as seeing, some of the other extremely powerful mech cards for Warrior when you see this card. So good on Blizzard to make the mech card not broken for Warrior, but good for the other class, because Warrior's already in a pretty good spot right now. So now on to the buffs. I believe there's 2 for every single class from the Boomsday project. First we have Gloop Sprayer from 8 to 7 mana. This is like one of the smaller ones, I feel like. 7 is still a lot. 7 mana 4/4 is still bad. But the interesting thing with this now is that you can play Witching Hour and Gloop Sprayer in the same turn. Before you weren't able to do that. So now you can play, let's say you already have a big guy, then you just play Witching Hour to summon your Wishwood Grizzly, make 3/12, and then play Gloop Sprayer in the middle. And suddenly you have a lot of stuff. That could be a combo. I can't really think of anything else where this mana discount matters. But what's interesting is Juicy Psych Melon pulls a 7, 8, 9, 10 cost minions from your deck, and Gloop Sprayer now costs 7, which means what was nice with the Heal Druid deck was you would always pull either Gloop Sprayer or Loosen Bark when you played that, and then you just guarantee draw both your Ancients of Lore. Now that this is 7, you're going to be drawing either Ancient of Lore or this card, which means you might not even run Juicy Psych Melon, although tutoring out exactly Loosen Bark is like important for that deck. So if the meta drastically changes and Heal Druid is somehow good, this will matter for sure, because this card is already at 8 mana in a deck, Heal Druid. So that should be super interesting. Now we have Mulch Muncher, 9 mana down from 10. This is not a very big deal again, but Druid decks are already running trading cards like Landscaping and Soul of the Forest. Token Druid is a pretty good deck right now. Maybe the 1 mana discount on Mulch Muncher will allow it to be played. But I'm doubtful about it still in Token Druid. But maybe my deck, or some kind of like bigger deck, which is running Ziliax also, will run the Mulch Muncher now. I still don't think it will be played though. But perhaps the meta shift is so drastic that Mulch Muncher somehow becomes good. That would be cool. But right now, I think these are, like, from what I'm seeing, least impactful. Although maybe Gloop Sprayer being playable with something in the same turn is better than you would think at first. Alright, Hunter. First we have a gigantic buff, in my opinion. Necromechanic. 5 mana 3/6 Necromechanic was really bad. Now it's a 4 mana 3/6, which is just Water Elemental with this large upside of your Death Rattle trigger twice. So the important thing is 5 mana 3/6 is not good. 4 mana 3/6 is good by itself. So now suddenly this card just looks playable. And it's important because when they printed this card, Death Rattle Hunter was like already the best deck in the game-ish. But now that all those cards have rotated out, it's much safer in Standard to buff cards like this. So really cool by Blizzard to finally acknowledge that, it's okay to buff some cards from the past. That, they had to print cards kind of conservatively because of certain cards that were already in the game, but now that Play Dead and all that has rotated out of the game, they can be like, alright, 4 mana 3/6 Necro Mechanic is not going to break the game. And I don't think this card is going to be played still, right now. But maybe next expansion when more Oblivitron synergy is printed, there's like even one more Death Rattle trigger card in Standard than Fireworks Tech. This card could be good, but 4 mana 3/6 Necro Mechanic is probably... Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe you just put it in Mech Hunter and it has like Replicating Menace and stuff, and you just play a 4 mana 3/6 and you trade off and make 3 more 1/1s, Synergize with the new Snip Snap. That's cool. So yeah, this is a huge buff. 4 mana 3/6 Necro Mechanic is a lot better than 5 mana 3/6 Necro Mechanic. But we'll see if that gives it enough oomph to make it into an actual constructed deck. I don't think it will yet, but this definitely makes it like a standalone, a good card. And Flex Boomzooka, 7 mana down from 8. This is terrible still. This card is like unplayable at 8, and I think it's still unplayable. Like the effect is bad. It's not the mana cost, it's the effect that makes it bad. So the only thing that I have been able to think of with this card is you run like a big beast deck, and then you play Flark's Boomzooka. You summon a bunch of huge beasts like Undasta, double Lamani Warbearer, or whatever from your deck, and then the Undasta attacks something, pulls a minion from your hand, and then you play Revenge of the Wild, resummoning all 3 of the beasts that just died. Maybe Undasta gets resummoned again, you attack another thing with Undasta, you summon another beast from your hand. But, the problem with that is if you draw Undasta, then that becomes a lot worse. And if you don't happen to hit exactly Undasta from your deck, then it also becomes a lot worse. So this card is just like really inconsistent, really bad. It costing 7, I don't think is ever gonna I don't think this card will ever see play like in the history of Hearthstone. There needs to be a very consistent and specific synergy of recruiting minions from your deck, and you want them to die instantly every single time you play the card for it to be good. And that just seems really specific. But it costing 7 does make it a lot more enticing. It's just my prediction: you will never see Flark's Boomzooka unless someone's memeing, even after the buff. Unexpected Results now costs 3 mana. So this card is really bad right now. It's like one of the worst cards in the game. You play a 4 mana, like basically a 4 mana landscaping most of the time. Sometimes you'll hit like 2/2/3s, which is nice, but it's still bad. And then you can play like on turn 8 Cosmic Anomaly plus Unexpected Results, and you get 4/3 and 2 random 4 drops, which is also terrible on turn 8. So now it costs 3 mana. So you could theoretically, now that Rogue is getting nerfed also, play like Sorcerer's Apprentice turn 2, and then if it sticks on turn 4, you could play Elemental Evocation, Cosmic Anomaly, Unexpected Results. And you can legitimately play this 2-card combo on turn 4 now, so you can make a 4/3 and 2 4 drops on turn 4 in the right circumstances, and that could be like game winning. But still, there's not enough good spell damage in the game right now to, I think, make this card good. There's the new Kirin Tor Tricaster, which gives you 3 spell damage, but makes it cost 4 again. So if you thought unnerved Unexpected Results was good, then just play Kirin Tor Tricaster and you'll have the same card again, except it'll summon 5 drops. So yeah, I'm happy to see this buff, but I'm pretty sure this card is still really bad, and I don't think it will ever see play. Another possible synergy is you could play the Mana Reservoir on turn 2. 6 health spell damage minion. Very hard to deal with on turn 2. And then you can just curve it into Unexpected Results on 3. Get 2 random 3 drops. That's like, you're probably getting 3 3s on average, so it's like 3 mana 6/6, which is cool. But sometimes you don't get 3 mana 6/6, and sometimes they kill your Mana Reservoir, and you have to play exactly those 2 cards, and one of them is a 0/6. It's kind of iffy still. But spell damage mage, if that is a deck with all the spell damage cards and the 2 mana 3/2 draw a card via spell damage card, that could be a deck now. And this card might be in that deck, but I'm still doubtful. It still seems bad. But I won't be surprised if a deck with Cosmic Anomaly in this card is like tier 3 or 4. This card's currently like a tier 7 card. And Luna's Pocket Galaxy from 7 to 5. 5 mana Luna's Pocket Galaxy. That's really cool. This is like a very dangerous card to print, and they knew it. They made it 7 mana. But it was terrible. It was really, really bad. Now it's 5. It's probably still bad. But so the thing about this card now is a card like the Raven. Before, there were 2 very consistent ways to get it out of your deck if you were playing a Luna's Pocket Galaxy deck. There was Grand Archivist, 8 mana 4/7 that plays a spell from your deck. And there was the Raven, which would draw it if it was the biggest spell in your deck and the only spell in your deck. So you could play an entirely minion-based deck, and then you could play Grand Archivist if it was still in your deck, and it would pull it, and you basically get like a 1 mana 4/7. Draw a card. You could also Raven it out to guarantee that you had it on 7, and hopefully you weren't so behind against an aggro deck that you would just play it and not die. Pretty unplayable card against any aggressive deck, because you can never just play your 7 mana do nothing. 5 mana do nothing is also really bad, but it's a little less bad, obviously. So if there's whether this card is good depends on A, how consistently can you play a 5 mana do nothing card and not die in the meta, and B, is there a good like only minion based deck where you really want to discount the minion cost? Because even in the current Giant Mage deck, it's not really important to reduce the cost of your minions at all. Your hand is already reducing the cost of your Mountain Giant and stuff. And yeah, so there's going to be some kind of combo deck with like, you know, you got Antonidas in your deck and you could like summon him and for low cost do a lot of stuff. But I currently am not seeing it, and this card still looks bad. Alright, next to this Paladin, we've got a Crystology buff. 1 mana, draw 2 cards. PogChamp. So yeah, this card is already good. And now it's just really good. 1 mana, draw 2. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Yeah, I am already having a pretty successful win rate in the current meta pre-nerf the Rogue with this deck. It's essentially just every mech, good mech card. And then you're playing Galvanizer. And then all your cards that are just good draw cards. Prismatic Lens, Call to Adventure, Flash of Light, Crystology. And the goal of the deck is against faster decks. You can just kind of cheat out a bunch of those small mechs. Try to aggressively fight for the board. If you stick a big mech, you put the Lightforge Blessing on it, make a big guy. And you get another one so you can do it again. The healing seems pretty important to me. And you also have Glowstone Technician, which is also getting buffed, by the way. I think they know, like, this is a real deck already, and it could be legitimately good with these 2 buffs, so this is exciting. You can just, if you're playing against a value deck, you can hold all the minions in your hand, Glowstone Technician all of it, and then your magnetic cards are, you can't think of magnetic cards as minions, you have to think of them as buffs, so this card, you play it, and it makes this into a 1 mana give a minion +3/+5. Then War Gear's 5 mana give a minion +7/+7. So the really small buffs matter the most, like Bronze Gatekeeper, 3 mana 3/7. Scatterbot, 1 mana 3/3. Rush. That's like a 200% increase in stats instead of War Gear, which is like a 20%, something like that, you know. So there's a lot of potential here. Crystology being one is going to matter a lot, I think. You're going to see Crystology a lot. And like I said, Glowstone Technician down to 5 from 6. This card is really hard to play at 6, but it's still playable at 6, especially against slower decks. You know, you can wait till 6, and giving all your magnetic cards an extra 2/2s. Like, imagine, you know, it said give all of your spells that buff minions +2/+2, like Blessing of Kings now gives +6/+6 instead, for example. And then you can also reduce the cost of your buffs by 1 with Galvanizer. So there's this really powerful synergy that was already like built into the Boomsday project, which was getting overshadowed by all the old cards. And now not only is Rogue getting nerfed, but they're buffing Crystology and Glowstone Technician. And they're adding a new mech to the game, which is cool. But like I said before, this deck is running Kango's Endless Army, and you want to kind of go tall, not wide, with this mech Pally deck. So there could be an aggressive mech Pally deck that's made that doesn't run Kangors, and that would probably be fine. But right now, I think the mech Pally deck is going super tall with Magnetic, and then playing Kangors, and you don't want the Echo guy that makes a bunch of 1/1s in that deck, because you're going to always make a 1/1, basically, after you play it. That's unoptimal. Priest. Extra arms, down to 2 mana. I don't know if the more arms that you add to your hand is also 2. I'm going to assume that it is, for consistency's sake. If so, I'm gonna judge the card based off of extra arms and more arms both costing 2 mana. 2 mana 2/2, draw a 2 mana 2/2. That's really good. However, in Priest, I don't know if it'll be good. Priest need to stick a minion on turn 1. So Priest did have a kind of a tempo-y deck when they had the Spiteful thing going on. Now the Kelseth is gone, they can run this card. But they don't really have any good 2-drops right now. Radiant Elemental's gone, and they had the Shadow Ascendant card, the 2 mana 2/2 that gives 1/1 to everything. That card's gone, which was a really good card in like a tempo Priest deck. So even though this is a much stronger card now, I still don't think it has a home. But if somebody can manage to build like an early game mid-rangey Priest deck that wants to buff its minions and has board control, then Extra Arms will legitimately be a good card in that deck. So have fun with that. And Cloning Device now costs 1, which it should have in the first place. It's probably still a bad card, but it's playable now, and maybe discovering a copy of a minion in your opponent's deck is like important. Like, let's say you're playing against a Mecha'thun deck and you Cloning Device or Mecha'thun, then maybe you can beat a Mecha'thun deck now, you know? Something like that. There's a niche utility for a card that can discover a card in your opponent's deck. It will probably still not be in a deck, but worth mentioning it's like an okay card at 1 mana. But I wish they had buffed something like Xeric, like Xeric a 5/5 or something, you know, or a 5 mana 5/5. But they hit Cloning Device instead. A little disappointed with this one, but still really cool card. And this card was so insanely unplayable at 2 mana that like this is fine. Pogo Hopper now costs 1 mana, so this is cool. Rogue just got nerfed, and they're pushing Rogue in a different direction now with Pogo Hopper. We have the Scheme. You shuffle a million Pogo Hoppers in your deck. Zilliax still exists. Zilliax with Pogo Hopper is like one of the best 2-card combo in the game. Just make a giant guy for low cost mana, and Zilliax onto it. Hit somebody, lifesteal for a lot. It doesn't take any damage because it's Divine Shield. Crazy. So now it costs 1. It'll be better when you play exactly Taz Noswhisker into Togwaggle Scheme Pogo Hopper. You're going to have a bunch of 1-cost Pogo Hoppers in your hand instead. So if that super greedy, insanely awful Pogo Hopper greedy piece of shit deck is good, this will be good. I'm convinced this card is still bad at 1 mana because of like it's not about the mana cost of Pogo Hopper, it's about the game plan of the deck where you need to play many of them over the course of the game for it to be worth it. It was already worth it if you got like, you know, several 2 mana like 11/11, 13/13. But at that point, no, the 1 mana might not make a difference, but perhaps the 1 mana discount is more important than I think it is. We'll have to see. But I am predicting no Pogo Hopper, unless the meta is like a lot slower. To the point that this could be like the new AIDS, where like you're playing Control Warrior versus Control Warrior every single game, and then there's that one guy playing Pogo Rogue, and you just can't beat him because they have infinite Pogo Hoppers. Darkest timeline, but you know, you can beat Pogo Rogue basically still. This discount does not change its weakness of losing to aggressive decks like every single time. Violet Haze, 2 mana. So now you get 2 random Death Rattle cards for 2 mana. That makes it a lot better, but 2 random Death Rattle cards is like not a good payoff. So this card is now like cool and really good in Arena. Like really good in Arena. But constructed, I don't think 2 mana to draw 2 random Death Rattle minions is good enough for Rogue. So I think this card will never see play. Unless the pool of Death Rattles is so good that the average 2 random Death Rattle minions is as good as drawing 2 cards. If that ever happens, you will see Violet Haze in a deck, but I really, really don't think that will ever happen. Alright, Shaman. Stormbringer down to 6. This is really cool. Stormbringer is a pretty decent card. And what a lot of people have said, you know, even like professional players when I watch their card review is, why not play Bloodlust? And there's a very, very important reason that this card can be better than Bloodlust, and this simply, you can play this on the same turn that you summon the minions. Bloodlust, you have to wait, they have to stick. But a lot of the time, you know, you play a board flood, they kill your board. You play a board flood, they kill your board. They play a board flood, they kill your board. Like you're playing against Warrior. You know, it's a lot easier to deal with 1/1s when you're playing with Thunderhead, for example. But now, let's say your Thunderhead sticks. All you have to do is play Voltaic Burst. 1 mana, summon 4 1/1s, because Thunderhead also makes 2 1/1s. And then now you have 5 minions. Play Stormbringer, you have 5 random legendaries. And if you get high roll like at least 2 or 3 of them, and they can't kill them all, you can just win the game. So this card does have benefit over Bloodlust, and now that it costs only 1 more than Bloodlust, it's like really interesting. There could be a legitimate token Shaman deck now that wants to play this card. But yeah, if you are going to be playing this card, it has to be in a deck that can make many minions for low cost in the same turn. And if you can do that, Stormbringer's your guy. And then speaking of Thunderhead, Thunderhead's now a 4 mana 3/6. This is like one of the best minions in the game now. 4 mana 3/5 with this effect was already very powerful, but there's just not a lot of overload synergy right now. But now, so what's really cool you have to realize now is any deck that was running weapons was kind of getting caught in the crossfire of the anti-rogue meta where everyone was running weapon removal. Now that rogue is getting nerfed, people will probably be cutting weapon removal. So Thunderhead plus Lickum is a lot better. Lickum will no longer be getting, you know, oozed just 1 attack. So Lickum Shaman is once again probably in the meta. Even Control Shaman that was running low-cost overload cards wouldn't run Lickum because it would just get oozed all the time. So yeah, 4 mana 3/6 Thunderhead is really powerful. There's not a lot of overload synergy still. That doesn't change that fact. I think this card was good at 4 mana 3/5 also. But this card is just, it's going to stick even more often on 4, and it's going to do stuff. I'm excited to play some Overload Shaman. It seems fun. Alright, now we have Warlock, Spirit Bomb down to 1. It's kind of like Soulfire now, except the downside is dealing 4 damage to your hero instead of discarding a card. I would say on average, dealing 4 damage to your hero is less of a downside than discarding a card, which is really cool. This means this card might actually see play like in an aggressive deck. And don't forget that this card Nether Soul Buster exists. So turn 4, Spirit Bomb something, play a 3 mana 5/5. Seems powerful. Maybe some kind of weird zoo deck that runs some older cards exists now. Remember, the Zoo in the Boomsday was a very popular deck. It had all the new cards like Soul Infusion and the Imps. So maybe Spirit Bomb is legitimately good now for board control in a Zoo deck. But I think this card now becomes like a decent card. But what you have to realize about this card is it cannot go face. Soulfire can go face. That's the whole reason it's in the deck. So this card might not be in Zoo over Soulfire, even though it's better, quote unquote better. Less of a drawback to deal damage to your hero than discarding a card, just because it can't go face. So I'm not hopeful for this card, but could be good, and definitely pretty good in Arena, probably. We have Dr. Morgan, so it costs 6 now. I'm pretty sure this card still has like no application at all. So 6 mana 5/5 swap with me in your deck is actually like standalone good, as well as some potential for some kind of combo thing where you shuffle more copies of her into your deck and you keep playing Dr. Morgans. So that's really neat. I hesitate to say she'll be in a deck, but it looks a lot better. It looks a lot like you can really experiment, and you know, you might make like a tier 4, tier 3 deck based around her now. I don't know if 6 mana 5/5 that summon stuff from your deck is like a good enough thing to be doing, like making your deck around. But there might be a way to make it work. Now we're at Warrior. So buffing Security Rover. It's kind of weird. So this card will never be in a deck. It will still never be in a deck, even with this buff. But you're seeing this card a lot because of Omega Assembly and Delivery Drone. So they're buffing this card. I guess they can't buff any other Warrior card because giving Warrior more stuff right now is bad. But I actually don't think Warrior's a problem. I think once Rogue gets nerfed, Warrior will naturally fall because Warrior's like main food in the meta is Rogue. So this is fine. And this card will still never be in a deck. But when you see it off Assembly, it'll be a little bit stronger. That's okay. I think possibly Warrior even needs it, and we just don't know that yet. But yeah, we'll find out once the thing. But I'm confident this card, you will not see it in the list still. And lastly, we have Beryllium Nullifier. It's a 4/8 now. Still bad. Same thing as the one. Probably. Like, this card is scary. And sometimes when you hit this card off of Mega Assembly or Delivery Drone, you just win the game instantly if you magnetize it onto something relevant. But you can still never put it in your deck, I'm pretty sure. 7 mana, big-ish guy with potential upside is, like, not good enough. If it had Taunt, by the way. If this card just had Taunt, like, broken. But it doesn't. So instead of giving it Taunts, thankfully, they just made it a 4/8 instead. It's not good enough to be in a deck, but you'll be seeing it quite a bit, again, off of Mega Assembly and Delivery Drone, so I'm okay with this. That's everything. So overall, some of the coolest shit Blizzard's ever done for Hearthstone. I've never seen them do this before. And they added, like, the buffs would have already been nice. And they added Snip Snap. Wow. That's crazy. So that's exciting. I'm really looking forward to this. Even just the Rogue nerfs also would have been, like, probably enough for me to enjoy the game. But then they're also doing this stuff. Really spicy, really spicy. Love it. Thank you, Blizzard. Thank you, Blizzard. Please watch. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, gamers. Have a good one.